am the Chief Revenue Officer of Telarus, and I've got a couple fun parts of my job. One is probably this is what this is about, is looking out into the future and saying, what new technologies, what new products, what new capabilities do your end users want? You as technology advisors, in fact, I'll jump ahead here. You as technology advisors in 2020, obviously the pandemic catapulted us into a whole new way of serving the customer, serving your end users. You as technology advisors got to enable new levels of capability. It was a transformation, but it was really just a start. Forrester says the digital workplace now is being used by 1.5 billion people in the world on any given day, and that's, quote, and I've got the industry analysts in here, so I got to do fact checking. It's at least 2 hours a day using some kind of digital device connecting. Think of that, 1.5 billion people every day. So we've seen a dramatic transformation in terms of how we've done business. When we look at how we think about, and you all can see this, you looked up there, in fact, a lot of you, I don't know if I've got a pointer here, a lot of you built the digital infrastructure of today. Who here sold a POTS line, ISDN line in the 90s? All right, we got it, all right, there we go. How about then, and so you remember that as this then morphed into the 2000s, you're selling 10 meg and 100 meg, right? They're getting a few more. So you then changed. We then moved into the collaboration space. We moved into the idea, the emerging cloud, smartphone. We dramatically shifted into that fairly quickly. Enterprise 3.0. You had the likes of Salesforce.com. We moved away from client server into that notion of a full mobile edge compute. And so when you look ahead, and what we're going to talk about today is where we're going with Enterprise 4.0, and the underpinning being artificial intelligence. So what I want you to get out of today is, one is familiarize yourself with the AI, which a lot of you already are. Who here is on ChatGPT right now? Yeah, there we go. In fact, we were talking, I'm not gonna point out who, but one of my panelists actually had ChatGPT write his bio for the conversation. Love that. But when you think about where we're heading with this, when you think about AI, it's important to take a quick step back. So number one is we're going to familiarize ourselves. Two is I'm going to introduce you to some of the leading technology companies that are available today in your portfolio to have an impact on your end user. Number three is we're going to hear use cases and how you can actually monetize this right away. And number four, importantly, I'm going to get you out of here ahead of time. I'm going to be quick with this. We're going to have a good conversation. But before we do that, I want to go back to a quick history on AI. So when you look at what's going on in the press today, you're going to hear all about it. But if you go back, actually, it was ancient philosophers and mathematicians actually contemplated the notion of AI and machine learning centuries ago. And so for those of you who are deep historians, really interesting to research there. But then you fast forward to 1956, and Dartmouth College had a workshop with a lot of the artificial, back then it was folks in the computer industry, and they had this idea, which coming out of the workshop, they wanted to build a machine that could learn and was faster and smarter than humans. That's in the 50s. Well, about 2 decades went by, not a lot happened. In fact, what did we get out of those 2 decades? We got the Commodore 64 and Radio Shack. That was a joke. They're thinking, no, I lost stock money on Radio Shack. So you look at that, there was not a lot of progression in AI over that period of time. But then you look another couple decades ahead, and you look at some of the initiatives going on today, and only 4 years ago, you had Google build out the DeepMind portion of the business, right? And so these guys started experimenting with different use cases of how to leverage AI. One of the most interesting ones is, who's heard of AlphaGo? So chess. So they actually took up, Ashish, you know this, they took up the idea of a great way to chase this down, to see whether or not we could get something smarter than humans, was the game of chess. And what they did is they took an algorithm